Your liver can ache quietly, even when you don't notice. Hidden risks can grow from simple daily habits. But there is a natural way to bring comfort, and the path begins here. Imagine waking up one morning and feeling as though your body simply isn't cooperating. You push through your routine, but the tiredness doesn't leave. Coffee offers only a temporary lift, your skin feels less radiant, and there's an odd heaviness just below your ribs on the right side. Most people dismiss these moments, blaming stress, a long week, or just poor sleep. But sometimes, this silent discomfort is more than just fatigue. Sometimes, it's the quiet signal of an organ that works tirelessly for you every day. Your liver, crying out for attention. The liver is extraordinary. It filters your blood, processes nutrients, balances hormones, and removes toxins. Yet when it's overwhelmed, one of the first signs is inflammation. And here's the surprising truth. Liver inflammation can be present long before it's ever diagnosed, quietly influencing your energy, digestion, skin, and even your mood. The fascinating and perhaps unsettling part is that millions of people walk around with mild liver inflammation and never realize it. That is, until their body starts whispering louder. Now, I want you to stay with me because we'll not only explore how liver inflammation feels and what it means for your health, but also how to calm it naturally with safe and practical steps that anyone can start today. And I'll make you a promise. By the end of this journey, I'll share a powerful bonus tip, something simple yet often overlooked, that can maximize the natural support your liver receives. This is knowledge most people miss, but once you have it, you'll wonder why no one told you sooner. Think about the modern lifestyle many of us live. Fast food eaten in the car, sodas and sweetened drinks as a pick-me-up, processed snacks to save time, late nights staring at glowing screens, and painkillers taken more often than we'd like to admit. These habits, so common in American daily life, gradually weigh on the liver. And unlike a muscle that burns when it's tired, the liver doesn't shout at you immediately. It quietly accumulates stress until the whispers become harder to ignore. What does that feel like? For some, it's a persistent tiredness that no amount of rest seems to fix. For others, it's a bloated belly after meals or skin that loses its vibrancy. You might notice frequent headaches, mood swings, or even a general lack of motivation that seems to creep in without explanation. While none of these signs alone confirm liver inflammation, together they weave a story that deserves attention. Here's the thing. Ignoring those whispers can come at a cost. The liver, when inflamed, has to work much harder to keep up with its endless tasks. And though I won't reveal everything just yet, I'll tell you this. Leaving it unchecked can set off a chain of events in your body that no one wants to experience. The good news is that the liver is resilient. Given the right care, it can regenerate and heal in remarkable ways. That's why paying attention early is so important. So as you listen, I invite you to not just learn, but to reflect. What habits in your daily routine might be asking your liver to work overtime? Could it be the soda with lunch, the processed late-night snack, or the medications taken without a second thought? Awareness is the first step, because once you recognize the subtle signs and their connection, you can begin to make changes that not only support your liver, but improve your energy, your focus, and your overall well-being. Stay with me, because in just a moment, we'll dive deeper into what liver inflammation truly is, beyond the fatigue, beyond the discomfort, and discover the science of what's happening inside your body when this incredible organ is under stress. And believe me, understanding this next step is one of the most important things you'll ever learn about protecting your long-term health. Missing it won't just reduce the benefits of everything else we'll discuss, but could even bring unintended consequences you'd rather avoid. When people hear the phrase liver inflammation, it often sounds abstract, almost like medical jargon. But what it really means is something simple. Your liver, one of the hardest working organs in your body, is irritated and swollen as it struggles to protect you. Think of it like a loyal worker in a factory who never stops, sorting toxins, breaking down food, storing nutrients, and making sure everything runs smoothly. When the workload becomes too much sugar, too much alcohol, too many processed foods, or even an overload of certain medications, this worker begins to tire and swell. That swelling is inflammation, the body's way of signaling that something isn't right. Here's a surprising truth. You don't have to be someone who drinks heavily to have an inflamed liver. In fact, the most common trigger today isn't alcohol at all, but rather diet and lifestyle habits deeply woven into daily routines across North America. Soda with lunch, fast food dinners, processed snacks between meetings, and long stretches of inactivity after a stressful day. All of these habits may seem small on their own, but over time they build up into a burden your liver quietly shoulders. The end result? An organ that is fighting to keep you balanced, but doing so under strain. What does this strain mean for you? Imagine a sponge absorbing water. At first, it soaks up easily, but as it becomes saturated, every new drop spills out, and the sponge can no longer do its job effectively. The liver works in a similar way. When it is overloaded, toxins and waste begin to circulate longer in the body than they should. Nutrients aren't processed as efficiently, and the hormonal balance that supports mood and energy begins to shift. This is why inflammation of the liver can feel like so many different things: tiredness, brain fog, unexplained bloating, or even changes in skin clarity. And yet, here's something many people don't realize. Liver inflammation is reversible. Unlike damage that is permanent, inflammation is often the body's way of raising a red flag, saying, "Slow down, help me recover." With the right attention, the liver has an incredible ability to heal itself, restoring balance and energy. That is why recognizing this condition early can transform not just liver health, but your overall well-being. There is also a deeply human side to this story. Many people spend years treating their symptoms, taking painkillers for headaches, using creams for skin breakouts, grabbing extra coffee for fatigue, without ever realizing that the common thread may be the liver working overtime in the background. Think about how empowering it is to finally understand that these seemingly unrelated issues might actually have one root cause. Instead of patching the symptoms, you can begin to address the source. So, if the liver is inflamed, what exactly happens on a cellular level? The immune system kicks into action, sending out inflammatory signals to protect the liver from further harm. This causes swelling and stress inside the organ, which in turn makes it less efficient at doing its many jobs. It's the body's protective mechanism, but it comes at a cost: reduced efficiency and added strain. The irony is that the very process meant to protect the liver ends up interfering with its normal function. It's like closing down parts of a factory for repairs. Work slows, backlogs build, and efficiency plummets. Now, you may be wondering, if this is so common, why don't more people talk about it? The reality is that liver inflammation often doesn't come with sharp, dramatic pain. Instead, it manifests in subtle ways, easy to ignore. This quiet progression is what makes it so important to learn and act before the problem escalates. Because while your liver won't shout for help, it will whisper, and it's up to you to listen. We're now reaching a critical point of understanding. You've seen what liver inflammation truly is and why it matters more than most people realize. The next step is learning how these whispers show up in your daily life, those early hidden signs that might already be telling you something important. And ignoring that knowledge doesn't just limit your results. It may also create unwanted consequences that ripple through your health in ways you never expected. Now that you understand what liver inflammation really is, let's talk about how it feels. Because this is where the body begins to whisper, quietly but insistently, that something isn't right. The tricky part is that these whispers rarely show up as sharp, obvious pain. Instead, they sneak into your daily life in ways so subtle that most people dismiss them as normal. But when you begin to connect the dots, you realize they are all part of the same story. One of the most common feelings is fatigue that doesn't match your effort. You can sleep a full night, but wake up still heavy, as though your body hasn't truly rested. This is because an inflamed liver is struggling to clear out toxins and process nutrients. Without that balance, the body has to work harder to function, leaving you drained. It isn't the same as being tired after exercise or a long day of work. It's a deeper, more frustrating exhaustion. Another common sign is discomfort in the upper right side of your abdomen. It isn't usually sharp pain, but a dull heaviness or fullness that lingers, especially after meals. Some describe it as pressure, almost as if something inside is swollen. This makes sense because inflammation is literally swelling inside the organ itself. When the liver is larger than usual, it presses against nearby areas, creating that feeling of unease. Bloating is another whisper. After eating, you may feel like your stomach expands more than it should, or that digestion takes longer. This isn't always because of the food itself, but because your liver is playing a key role in breaking down fats and filtering waste. If it's inflamed, that process slows, and digestion becomes less efficient. Many people misinterpret this as just eating too quickly or choosing the wrong meal, but when it happens often, it's worth paying attention. Skin changes can also appear. Your skin is a mirror of your internal health, and when the liver struggles, toxins can circulate longer in the bloodstream. This may lead to dullness, breakouts, or changes in texture. Some people notice itchiness without a rash, which can be another signal that waste products aren't being processed as effectively as they should. And then there's brain fog. This is a feeling of being unfocused, forgetful, or unable to think clearly, even when you've had enough sleep. Since the liver plays a role in balancing blood sugar and hormones, inflammation can upset these systems, leading to mental cloudiness. It's subtle but frustrating, especially when you feel you're doing everything right but can't shake the haze. The emotional side of liver inflammation is just as real. People sometimes report mood swings, irritability, or even mild feelings of sadness. Again, this isn't random. When the liver struggles to keep the body balanced, it affects the chemicals that influence mood and energy. That's why so many people mistakenly try to fix these symptoms separately, by drinking more coffee for energy, taking over-the-counter medicine for headaches, or using creams for skin changes, when the real issue may be hidden inside the liver. Each of these whispers on its own can seem harmless, but together they create a clear pattern, a body signaling that an essential organ is under strain. And while it's tempting to push through and ignore them, doing so only makes the liver work harder. That's why it's so important to recognize the feelings early and respond with supportive changes. This awareness doesn't just help prevent long-term complications, it improves your daily quality of life, bringing back energy, focus, and balance. Now that you know how liver inflammation feels, the next step is to understand what happens when these signs are ignored. Because while the body is resilient, there are consequences to allowing the whispers to continue without action. And overlooking this next piece of information won't just slow down your progress, it could also create unwanted side effects that are better avoided. When the body sends out those whispers, fatigue, bloating, brain fog, skin changes, they are not random annoyances. They are signals pointing to a deeper reality. But what happens if these signs are brushed aside? This is where the true impact of liver inflammation begins to unfold, shaping not only how you feel each day, but also how your body functions over time. Think about what the liver does. It filters the blood, processes nutrients from food, breaks down fats, and even helps regulate hormones. When it's inflamed, these tasks slow down. Imagine a factory with too many orders and not enough workers. Slowly, a backlog forms. Deliveries are delayed, quality control slips, and eventually, the entire system starts to show cracks. That's exactly what happens inside the body when the liver is under constant strain. Energy is one of the first casualties. When nutrients aren't processed efficiently, cells don't get the fuel they need. This is why so many people with liver stress feel like their energy has been stolen. They rely on coffee, sugary drinks, or snacks to push through, but these choices only add to the burden. It becomes a cycle, tiredness leading to quick fixes, and quick fixes adding more pressure to the liver. Digestion is another area that suffers. The liver produces bile, a substance critical for breaking down fats. With inflammation, bile production and flow can become irregular, leading to poor digestion. This shows up as discomfort after meals, bloating, or even changes in the way food feels in the stomach. Over time, the body misses out on important nutrients, which can affect everything from muscle strength to brain clarity. But the effects don't stop there. The liver also helps balance hormones, and when it's overworked, that balance is disrupted. Mood swings, irritability, and changes in appetite can all trace back to this hidden imbalance. And when toxins linger longer in the bloodstream, they can affect skin health, immune function, and even how refreshed you feel after sleep. What's striking is how these effects weave into daily life. A person may think their skin breakout is just from stress, or their constant fatigue is because of age. They might blame headaches on a busy week or brain fog on a lack of coffee. But underneath, all these issues are connected, with the liver quietly struggling to keep up. And while we're not here to alarm, it's important to recognize that ignoring liver inflammation doesn't just mean living with discomfort. Over time, it can set the stage for bigger health challenges. That's why it's so important to take action early, when the body is still able to recover and rebalance with the right support. The good news is that change is possible. Habits are powerful, but so is awareness. Simple adjustments, like reducing sugary drinks, choosing whole foods over processed ones, moving your body more often, and staying hydrated, can relieve much of the daily pressure on the liver. These choices may seem small, but together, they create space for the liver to repair, restore, and return to balance. Think of it this way. Your liver is like a quiet partner working behind the scenes. When you lighten its load, it rewards you with energy, clearer thinking, better digestion, and a brighter mood. And that's a reward worth working for. Because what's at stake isn't just avoiding discomfort. It's reclaiming the energy and clarity that make life feel full. We've now reached a crucial moment. Understanding the impacts of liver inflammation is the bridge between recognizing the signs and taking real steps toward healing. The next insight you'll discover is among the most important of all: how to calm liver inflammation naturally, with safe and effective practices that can make a difference almost immediately. And ignoring this next step won't just limit the progress you've made. It could also bring consequences you'd rather not experience. If understanding the impact of liver inflammation shows us what's at stake, then learning how to calm it naturally reveals the path to recovery. This is where your choices begin to transform your health in ways that ripple through your entire body. The beauty of this step is that it doesn't require drastic changes or complicated routines. Often, it's the simplest adjustments that make the biggest difference. The first place to look is your plate. Whole, unprocessed foods are like a gift to your liver. Leafy greens such as spinach, kale, and arugula help the body flush out waste more effectively. Vegetables like beets and broccoli provide compounds that support detoxification, helping the liver break down substances it would otherwise struggle with. Garlic and onions, rich in sulfur, further support this cleansing process, making them quiet allies for a liver in distress. Another powerful tool is hydration. Water may sound too simple, but the liver depends on it. Adequate water intake helps carry away toxins, supports digestion, and allows every cell to function more efficiently. Many people rely on coffee, sodas, or energy drinks for fluid, but these beverages often place additional stress on the liver. Choosing water, herbal teas, or even adding lemon to warm water can be a small yet transformative shift. Herbal remedies also play a role, and some have been valued for centuries. Milk thistle, for example, contains silymarin, a compound studied for its potential to support liver cells and reduce oxidative stress. Dandelion root tea has traditionally been used to support bile flow and digestion. While these are not cures, they are gentle aids, working alongside your body's natural systems rather than against them. And just as important as what you add is what you reduce. Cutting down on refined sugars, processed snacks, and fried foods relieves the burden on your liver, allowing it space to heal. Movement is another underestimated ally. Exercise doesn't just strengthen muscles, it also improves circulation, balances blood sugar, and reduces fat buildup in the liver. Even brisk walking for 20 to 30 minutes most days can improve liver health significantly. Pairing movement with better food and hydration creates a synergy that magnifies the benefits. Equally critical is rest. Your liver performs much of its repair work during sleep, when the body directs energy inward instead of outward. Consistent, restorative sleep is like pressing the reset button, giving the liver the downtime it needs to recover from daily demands. Late-night snacking, heavy evening meals, and screen time that delays sleep interfere with this vital process, so creating a bedtime rhythm becomes an act of care for your liver. It's also worth mentioning mindful moderation. Many of the habits that strain the liver are not about a single choice, but about repeated patterns over time. Alcohol, for example, is tolerated by the liver in small amounts, but frequent drinking quickly overwhelms its capacity. Similarly, processed snacks or fast food meals may seem harmless when occasional, but when they become the norm, the burden builds. Being mindful of frequency and balance is as important as the specific foods you choose. One of the most surprising things you may notice as you begin to support your liver is how quickly the body responds. More energy in the mornings, fewer digestive issues, a clearer mind, and even brighter skin often appear within weeks. This is the body's way of reminding you how interconnected everything is. When you care for the liver, the benefits radiate everywhere. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every time you choose whole food over processed, water over soda, rest over late-night scrolling, or movement over sitting, you tip the balance back toward healing. And each of these choices adds up to long-term resilience. You now know several natural and powerful ways to calm liver inflammation, but there is one piece left that ties it all together. It involves not just what you choose, but the way you prepare and combine certain foods and drinks. This next insight is one of the most important of all, and ignoring it won't just limit your results, it could even create effects you'd prefer to avoid. When it comes to calming liver inflammation, the details matter. You've already learned that choosing whole foods, staying hydrated, moving your body, and allowing time for rest can bring remarkable benefits. But the way you prepare these foods, the combinations you choose, and the balance you create each day can determine whether your liver receives true support or faces new challenges disguised as healthy habits. Let's start with preparation. Take vegetables, for example. Steaming or lightly sautéing greens like kale and spinach preserves their nutrients, making it easier for the liver to access the compounds it needs. Overcooking them or drowning them in heavy oils can rob these foods of their benefits and add unnecessary stress to the body. The same is true for root vegetables like beets. Juicing them raw may be too intense for some, but roasting them gently unlocks sweetness while keeping their supportive compounds intact. It's a reminder that how you cook is just as important as what you cook. Now consider the power of combinations. Lemon water on its own supports hydration and digestion, but pairing it with a handful of leafy greens at breakfast multiplies the benefit. Garlic and onions not only add flavor to meals, but when combined with cruciferous vegetables like broccoli or Brussels sprouts, they form a team of compounds that enhance detoxification pathways. Even something as simple as sipping green tea with a meal rich in antioxidants can provide synergy, helping your liver process fats and free radicals more efficiently. But here's where many people unknowingly make mistakes. Excess. More isn't always better. Drinking too much concentrated herbal tea or consuming an overload of supplements can irritate rather than soothe the liver. Balance is essential. Natural remedies are powerful, but they work best when used consistently and moderately. Listening to your body, starting small, observing how you feel, and adjusting accordingly, creates a safer and more sustainable path. And this brings us to the promised bonus tip. One of the most overlooked yet effective ways to support liver health is the combination of fiber and hydration. Alone, fiber helps sweep waste out of the digestive system. Alone, water helps transport nutrients and flush toxins. But together, they create a natural cleansing system that prevents buildup and keeps the liver from being overloaded. It's as simple as pairing high-fiber foods like oats, apples, beans, or chia seeds with sufficient water throughout the day. Many people eat fiber but forget water, or drink water but neglect fiber. When the two come together, the effect is powerful. The inspiring truth is that your liver is designed to heal. With the right choices, prepared in the right way, you can create an environment where inflammation subsides, balance returns, and energy flows freely again. Every supportive step you take is an act of partnership with this remarkable organ that works for you every single moment of your life. So let this knowledge guide you. Choose foods that nourish, prepare them with care, combine them with intention, and avoid the trap of excess. Drink water generously, eat fiber mindfully, and let the two work hand in hand. As the days and weeks pass, notice how your body responds. Clearer energy, brighter mood, better digestion, and a renewed sense of vitality. And remember this: knowledge is only powerful when it's shared. If what you've learned today has inspired you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this information with someone you care about, so they too can take steps toward better health. Engage with this community of learners by liking, subscribing, and leaving your own experiences in the comments. Together, we can spread the simple but powerful truth that health isn't just about avoiding illness. It's about creating vitality every single day.